Hello and good afternoon, good morning, and in some places, good evening. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And folks, as you can see, we are, well, a lot short of guests today. I'm not sure what happened with Umber or Danny, but we definitely know that C Money will be joining me. He is taking care of some family stuff. He should be here in about 15 minutes or so. So listen, I've done solo shows before. Don't worry, we'll get some folks in here. What you see on your screen, folks, is about an hour and 15 minutes of RoboCop. And my God, is this game an absolute love letter to anyone who enjoyed the films from the 80s. This is basically picking up after RoboCop 1. Let's just forget RoboCop 2 and 3 didn't exist because those were terrible films. It is phenomenal. You'll see the gameplay. It is brutal. It is barbaric. The one thing that I will say that they got really, really right is how lumbering and how heavy RoboCop is to move around. You'll see it by the like when you are walking through this through everything, you kind of feel like RoboCop. It is unbelievable. As you can see, you can scan people. There are multiple weapons. You can pick up enemies' weapons and use them. Like I said, you'll see some of the kills. They're barbaric, and it's what the movie was back in the days. I highly recommend it, folks. I'm only 2 hours and change into it. I just cannot believe how many great games have come out in 2023. But as great as 2023 has become for us, the gamers and the consumers, we're going to cover a super super heavy topic to open up the show, and of course, I don't want to dance around it because obviously I need some people here to help me, move the conversation forward. But we're going to be talking about some of these industry defining layoffs that have been plaguing the industry as a whole in the last month or so. The latest of the layoffs comes the way of Bungie. And obviously we're gonna have what the head of the studio, Mr. Parsons, had to say. I do want to say a big thank you to Pong So, who I'm in several DMs with, and he put out something that we were going back and forth with in the discussion on how the way that Mr. Parsons addressed layoffs, I know that his heart was in the right place, but in the context of things, did not come off that well. But listen, we're also going to be talking about several topics. Quantum Era is probably what I'll open with because, like I said, I want to get some feedback from the panel members regarding the layoffs and I do want to stress and I'm kind of glad I'm here by myself because I will reiterate this when we get more people into the panel. I don't want this conversation to be pointed as console war rhetoric. People are losing their jobs, and one of the things that I pride myself for Double Barrel Gaming, something that Mrs. Boomstick and I pride ourselves on having this channel, is never forgetting the human element that goes along with the industry. And yes, PlayStation has laid off a lot of people. A lot of their studios have done firings, have done layoffs. We saw what happened with Miss Connie Booth. We saw what happened with Jim Ryan, though that's not surprising because he is the leader or was the leader of PlayStation and made some pretty egregious things that he's done in his tenure outside of, obviously selling 45 million plus consoles. I don't think that is going to be his legacy. I think his legacy is going to be that he flew around the world to try and rat out on Microsoft to get the deal blocked instead of actually making a deal. And in turn of doing so, he exposed Sony and their dirty dealings to not only everybody in the industry, but of course, regulators around the world. But obviously, there are a lot of layoffs, and I do want to give another shout out to Paris Lilly. Obviously, you know him from, of course, Gamertag Radio, but you also know him as being a part of Kind of Funny Games with their Xcast. And he said something very interesting. And folks, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm going to paraphrase about his uh him looking at 2023 as a whole, and I agree with him 1,000%, where ultimately it's an amazing year for gamers. Like I said in the opening, it's amazing for consumers. We have spoils of games on every platform you could possibly know. I think that this year easily trumps 2007, which is a legendary year in itself. But ultimately, I think that it is going to be it's going to have an asterisk next to it. It's going to be marred by the amount of layoffs, folks. So many people have lost their jobs, and I have to stress this. And I know people, they clown on me, they make fun of me because I talk about the price of eggs or gas or rent, whatever. But that's kind of like a real world conversation that I enjoy having here, because at the end of the day, folks, there are some people working multiple jobs and finding it hard to put food on the table, to pay the rent, the mortgage, to send their kids to school. So just imagine for a second that if you're one of these developers, whether it be for Bungie, whether it be for Naughty Dog, whether it be for 343, they had a bunch of layoffs about a couple of months ago. Doesn't matter. Just imagine that you're one of these individuals who are living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe you live in California, and obviously in San Francisco and California, as we know, multiple people live with each other to be able to afford to live, right? Like that is incredibly important, and it's the human element that I don't want to forget about. And I'm sorry if we're opening up with the show on a drag, and obviously we're short quite a few people. Normally that's not the case, but this is how life is sometimes, and we're going to deal with it. We're going to put on our big boy pants. We're going to zip her up, and we're going to talk about it. And hopefully, you enjoy the conversation enough that you because I had several DMs with people literally asking me, "Boom, are you going to talk about this? This is something I'd love for you to talk about." Well, here we are. And I do read the DMs, and I do try to respond to everyone I can. Obviously, I'm only one person, but it's we're going to have that conversation. But I'm going to go to Twitter real quick and look to see if there's anybody that might be able to jump in at the last minute. But while I'm trying to do this, real time, folks, in the chat, obviously you guys are having a fantastic conversation with one another. What are you guys playing? Because I know that I am playing Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 is incredible, folks. Oh my god, dude. It is so good. It is probably Remedy's best game to date. I always thought that Quantum Break was like the pinnacle. As much as I enjoyed Control, and I really did enjoy Control, I think that Quantum Break is egregiously overlooked. As a matter of fact, I saw Jamie Moran, who is someone that you need to follow, and please subscribe to that dude's channel. Phenomenal content creator. He was talking about it the other day, and he had put some footage that he recorded up on the socials. And my God, like that game still looks astoundingly good. But yeah, I would say Quantum Break. Alan Wake 2, man, it's almost unfair, ladies and gentlemen, how many good games there are. I would even dare say great games. Like I already have like a pretty stout idea of what I'm gonna have for a top 10, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I like to throw indies in there. I like to throw smaller titles in there. I just, man, oh man, it's gonna be super, super hard. Z Black Rider in the chat says Quantum Break needed a sequel. You know what's interesting? I don't know which story I believe, Z Black Rider. Because there is some talk that Microsoft actually said no to a sequel for Quantum Break. Now, I don't know if that's a factoid. I don't know if that was, the administration that they had. That's certainly, I don't know if Phil Spencer was responsible for saying no. Again, at the time, he wasn't the head of Xbox. The head of the whole kit and caboodle. So I'm not sure who's quote unquote responsible for that. But at the end of the day, it almost seems crazy. Oh, listen, Mav is here. Wow, what a nice Mav. What's going on, brother? What a nice surprise that you jumped in. You happen to be in the DM. You heard my cries for help. So
I saw you were here alone, man. I was like, where is everybody? And I just happened to be here available. So you
well,
know
you
what?
know
Why not
what?
crash your show and
I
have some discussions?
listen.
I know how you hate doing the solo stuff, Boom.
Well, there's two things, folks. I'm gonna say this. As a personal friend, and I consider Mav to be like an extended piece of my family. And I really want to meet in person. Maybe I fly down there, for a weekend to check, to meet you and the missus. Because we've never been to Texas, so that would be kind of cool. There is
Sure.
something to be said about doing these things, these one-man shows. Mav seems to be a professional because anytime he does it, and I'm not saying it because he's on the show today. I've told him this in private. I'm mesmerized by how he controls the microphone, he controls the chat, and I'm always listening to almost every one of the ones. I mean, obviously, when he does the panel ones with everybody with 3-bit and Pong, is you always listen to that. But your one-on-ones are fantastic. You have a incredible knack for it, and the tenacity that you own is just not to be believed. But you know what, Mav, I want to kind of open up the show with the seriousness of what's going on in the industry.
Yeah.
We are in a position. I've said this before. We are very spoiled as gamers because we have so many amazing games. Like you see, RoboCop is on the screen here. I unfortunately let 3 hostages die because I wasn't quick enough, which I suck. But I'm gonna finally save the hostages, at least the ones that you have to breach the room. This is an astounding game, along with so many others. But I want to talk about Mav, what's going on specifically with Bungie, what happened yesterday. Obviously, you're in the same DM that I am with Pong. Pong said some things that I absolutely agree with. I won't speak for Pong. I will speak for myself. I thought that Mr. Parsons, I call him Mr. Parsons because I'm a proper gentleman. I don't know him by his first name. Uh, put out a tweet that I thought did not hit the way he anticipated, and that was, saying goodbye to our friends here at Bungie. I
Yeah.
thought it was out of context. I think that he meant it in a good way. I don't think that he was being a d-bag. I don't know him, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that it wasn't meant in a way that was disrespectful. But I think it was bad timing. We're going to talk about the layoffs, Mav. You know me for years. I enjoy and I really pride myself in talking about the human element of gaming, something that goes unnoticed and overlooked in a lot of the conversations that we're having. But I'm interested to get your take on it. What is in one of the biggest years for gaming as for games, we are also seeing one of the biggest years for the most layoffs. And I don't know why this is happening. I don't know how this is happening. I don't know if this is, post COVID that they hired so much to keep up with demand while we were all sheltering in place, and finally they're just not making the money that they need to keep these people employed. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And first off, thanks for the nice comments, Boom. Doubly think all those things about you. Just want to
Thank you, sir.
class act.
Appreciate it
But
very much.
as far as all these layoffs, I mean, it's unfortunately it seems like it's kind of a cruel reality of the world we live in right now, but it's not across the entire industry, which is something that I've seen a lot of people say, because there's a lot of studios that have hit their stride, that are up, and there's some that are still hiring. Now, there's less hiring across the entire industry than last year, but I even saw like ZeniMax Online put out a post saying, "Hey, we have positions open, right, for any of the Bungie employees laid off. We're looking for talent." So there's definitely not a cross the board industry thing, but I think certain studios it's hitting worse than others. And you look at potential projections, I feel like, and a lot of times these things are based on not just how much money we made this year, how much money we made last year, but how much money we're projecting to make in the near future. And it seems like some of these companies out there are tightening their belts and are kind of looking at the future of what's in store, right? And one of those, namely, has been PlayStation, because it's not just Bungie. It's been other studios. There's been Media Molecule. There's the Virtual Arts team. There's Connie
Yep.
Booth was fired, and potentially some of her team was laid off. You had Naughty Dog layoffs as well. Jim Ryan leaving. All of these within a matter of weeks from each other. Within a matter of weeks. Usually, if you have like a big layoff, it's like, hey, one big announcement. We're trimming the fat at some of our studios, and then it's kind of all at once. But this has been like different thing week after week after week. So it's been really interesting to see from PlayStation's side, where they're kind of looking like they are looking at their projections for the next couple of years and thinking, hey, we're not going to be able to foot the bill for all of this with the amount of money that we're spending. So we need to trim some fat. And that comes down
Yeah.
to shareholders. That comes down to executives trying to please the shareholders on projections and all these kind of things. And that's the crappy thing, right? Pete Parsons, Bungie's had some issues in the past too. And if they were not in position to release the expansion this year, they were not in position to actually release Marathon next year, you're looking at the projections from Bungie is like, oh crap, here we go. Now he's the executive there. He's like the head honcho. So you lay off people and then say, hey, look, I feel horrible that all these people were laid off. Hopefully somebody else hires them. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of falling on some deaf ears when you put a post out like that after you're the executioner, as Pong had put it, like in our DMs, and I completely agree with that. So
I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read verbatim. Let me just find it because it's pretty. It's pretty interesting. Let me find it here. Okay, so again, total credit to Pong Soul, who is a proper gentleman.
yeah.
Obviously, you work with him on almost on a pretty much on an everyday basis. But specifically, you guys do a fantastic show known as PM into PM. Right, that's on Thursdays, and you guys doing a great job of going off of each other. Right, and he
Mhm.
put in the DM that this was pretty. He said, "Read the room."
Yeah.
And again, private conversation. I'm not going to read anything else into it, but I want to say that from me as well. I think Pete did not read the room. So this is what Pete Parsons. Now for context, who is Pete Parsons? Who is this man? Well, he is the CEO of Bungie. Obviously, he was responsible for these decisions, and this is where the out of context conversation. I'm actually surprised it's still up because it has almost 2 million views, a lot of very, very upset, negative context from the community, and rightfully so. I haven't played a Bungie game in quite a bit. I used to be a die-hard Destiny 1 and 2 fan. I fell off. It's fine, right? Folks, this is what he had to say. And I know some people are going to be here. Obviously, Ham Solo is joining us hopefully in a second, as well as Kay Asante. So I don't have the screen in front of me because I have Pete Parsons' comment. I'll get to these. I get to bring them in a second. So this is Pete Parsons, CEO of Bungie, folks. This is what he put out yesterday after the news broke that there was massive layoffs at Bungie and that two of their projects are getting delayed into, well, at least one of them. So one of Sony's big games for next year is being delayed into 2025. He says this, folks. Today is a sad day at Bungie as we say goodbye to colleagues who we've all made a significant impact on our studio. What these exceptional individuals have contributed to our games and Bungie's culture has been enormous and will continue to be a part of Bungie long into the future. Okay, so this is where the out of context situation happens, Mav. I don't even know where to start with this because they're saying that these people that have been laid off are an important part of Bungie, and that they have been an enormous, contributor to the studio, and they're going to be, and what they have contributed will be a part of Bungie for a long time, but they won't, will they?
Nope. Not at all. I mean, these guys are gone. Like they're. I don't know how deep the layoffs went, Boom. But there's at least what I heard was at least one engineer, right, that they know of, and then you have some of the community management. Like Paul Tassi actually released a video on this because he was scolding of Bungie. Like he was kind of saying like, what's going on with this? Like as a live service game, you're firing your community team, you're laying off your community team.
Yep.
Like that's kind of strange. Now Pete's putting this message out there right after the layoffs that had been leaked, right? It wasn't him that put the original statement out. It came out from, I think Tom Warren had the information, maybe like Jason Schreier,
Yep.
all the usual insiders. And then it kind of put some pressure on them to put this out. But like, what's weird is like none of the layoffs recently have been kind of officially announced from PlayStation. It's not like this good old, statement about, hey, from a company perspective, unfortunately, we had to lay off some employees. We wish them well, or any of this kind of stuff. The same thing with Connie Booth and all of that. There still hasn't been an official statement on that, except after they had to answer questions and responded to an article that she's officially not there anymore. And then you have the Naughty Dog stuff kind of came out. You had these other things kind of come out. There's not like this, goodbye letter or any of these other kind of usual things you're seeing. It's kind of like just behind the scenes. It's like they're trying to keep things quiet about what's going on there. And then it seems like Pete was kind of like, oh, shoot, this got out. It's a horrible look for us right now. So
Right.
I'm going to put out a statement, right? After you just laid them off, he's going to put out a statement saying, oh, I'm sorry we had to lay all these people off. Hopefully they can find jobs because they're super talented and they're super important to us. If they were that important to you, then they should still be there. Did Pete take a pay cut? Did
Someone
the other
actually asked him
executives out
that.
there
So I saw somebody actually asked that question, and obviously he inclined not to answer. But that's pretty interesting. Like if
yeah,
you are like a leader, and instead of because he's the CEO, so he's making bank, he's making millions of dollars per year. Is the right thing to do to take a pay cut? The answer is yeah, probably.
Yeah,
Just
I
saying.
mean, and from Sony, like in general, like I don't know where this is coming from. It almost seems like, and I don't know exactly what happened. That like this could be Bungie and their own dollars and cents not meeting their own projections and deadlines, and they're looking at things and they don't have as enough money coming in with less people playing Destiny than ever before, and all these other things, and they're kind of like, oh well, we got to do something, so we're gonna lay off these people that don't actually necessarily work on the game, and then maybe there's a few others as well, but you know you come out there now and you're saying like, hey, they're super talented. Like, it's kind of strange when they have so much in the pipeline.
Yep.
Like, usually you see layoffs and stuff from studios like after they release a project and it's not very successful, or like, or if they have, a horrible things going on the back end, and like they just can't get stuff together, and these games keep getting delayed and delayed, and they're not able to put something out, and sometimes you'll see some like turnover and stuff like that, but like they have multiple games in the works, and plus they also have another season for Destiny coming out, and they also have ongoing up content support that they have to be doing for this game. So it's really strange for Bungie's perspective. And the other thing is they were acquired to help, and part of it was to help retain the staff.
Yep.
Like they were actually given
Yep.
more money to help retain the staff there. And then this isn't the first time they've had layoffs. There's actually a ongoing lawsuit right now at Bungie regarding people that were laid off that were unhappy with their severance package because of that money that they got to retain the employees. So this is multiple things. So I can't necessarily put this all on PlayStation from the Bungie side, just because it seems like there's been some disarray there already. But it does also coincide with all the other PlayStation stuff. So there's some weird stuff going on. The rest of the industry, yeah, there's a lot of studios that are down. There's some studios that are up. I think part of it has just been so many damn good games from the big studios that a lot of these other smaller studios and smaller publishers have kind of like seen less people playing some of their games because
Yep.
there's been so many other games to play. And you're seeing some ripple effects there. But Bandai Namco's still been up, Capcom's still been up. Again, the companies that are releasing good games frequently are fine, right? It's all these other companies either have smaller projects or they have been meeting delays and all this. I feel like 2024 like I think PlayStation's tightening the straps because they're looking at their pipeline, and maybe Bungie feels that. The only way I could say maybe Pete Parsons would be in the right mind for making a statement like that is if it wasn't his decision. Maybe he got maybe there was a new budget that was put onto them based on all the strapping of the belts and tightening of that. That's like, oh shoot, we don't have as much money that we thought we had to work with here, so we got to make some cuts. I don't know.
Mav, excuse me, my brother.
Go ahead.
I just read something.
Ham Solo and welcome C Money, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
What's up, guys? What's up? What's up?
Yeah. Thank you for the welcome. Thank you for the invite to the show.
No, thank you for seeing the. I was SOSing, so thank you.
I seen the beacon, brother. I seen the SOS, so I had to dive on in. But what I've seen on top of what I've noticed, I'm going to explain that just briefly, real quick.
Sure.
So what I've just seen just a moment ago was Tom Warren posted a little over 4 hours ago that the Destiny 2 community used to blame Activision for any game or company issue. Now some are attempting to blame Sony. Maybe it's Bungie leadership at that has led to the company to where it is today. And keep this in mind. Bungie complained when they were under Microsoft. Bungie complained when they were under Activision. Now Bungie's complaining under Sony.
Yeah.
It seems to be like a tradition for them to get under somebody's wing and then use them as the reason to point towards a problem that they're having within their own infrastructure. It's kind of frustrating. It's kind of annoying. And it's like, yo, why can't you guys seem to ever have your ducks in a row? You always are seeming to like, oh, we have this awesome thing that we're working on, but these new people that we teamed up with are kind of in the way. They're always doing that. Whether it's Halo, Destiny, now it's somebody else's game that they got underneath, and then they're saying, no, it's your fault. I just came to help, and now you're blaming me. And I'm just like, man, I don't know how many times you can cry wolf before people are just like, yo, I ain't hearing it no more.
I think what Ham Solo just did is basically crack the case in literally 3 minutes. The points you made, sir, are phenomenal. They are finite. They are pointed. It does make you wonder. I mean, I think I think we can all walk away from just the 3 minutes that Ham Solo was here that, it's a Bungie problem, because he spelled it out for you folks. First of all, let's welcome in Kay Asante. Let's welcome in Daniel McGee. This is great. I went from a one-man show to having 6 people. This is amazing. This is great. I love this kind of stuff.
How we do?
This is podcasting at its finest, folks. Look, you said they had a problem with management under Xbox. Then they broke away to do their own thing. They got bought for $500 million from by Activision, and they were at Activision. Now, Activision, listen, we know the history. We know Bobby K. We know that, again, but they had problems with them. They broke away. They bought themselves out of this contract, and they were kind of like a free spirit for a bit, self-publishing. And then out of nowhere, because Sony at the time the leadership was like, okay, we got to get gas games, and no one better than Bungie, Xbox, Activision. We'll pick them up $3.7 billion after it was all said and done. And now they're having a problem with PlayStation. I hate to say this, but I think the problem is Bungie. And ultimately, the leadership there is just not doing what they need to do. And obviously, the evidence has been presented, folks. I don't know how they come back from this. Even the highest priced attorney can't save Bungie from themselves because, well, just look at the patterns. That's how we solve crimes as a cop. You follow patterns. Well, I think it's very easy to follow that Pete Parsons and the leadership team at Bungie may be the problem.
Boom.
And ultimately, yes, sir.
I just want to say, it just reminds me of like, I don't know if you ever seen the movie Friday, but it reminds me of like, it reminds me of a person that gets hired onto a job to find a puddle on the floor so they can slip and say, my neck, my back, my neck and my back. Like, it's just like, wait a second. You did this at your last job. You had a problem as soon as you walked in the door somewhere else, and now you got a problem here. It's just like a habitual problem with them listening to other people tell them, "Hey, we need you to do this," and then they're just like a angry kid that just cannot. Deal
Well, this is
with
the thing.
what
This is
you
the
want
thing,
them
yo.
to do.
Like it is like so. All right, Bungie is kind of showing this pattern, right? But us, like we being a part of it, kind of know the situation, right? So Bungie wanted out of Microsoft because they didn't want to stay doing Halo forever, right?
Right.
So that's why they got themselves out of there.
Right.
Activision, they left because we clearly saw Activision change what Bungie wanted to do. Bungie didn't want to make a part two. Bungie wanted to make Destiny a platform that lasted, and they just kept evolving it. And Activision did what Activision did at that time, which is, hey, we need a part two. We need this to be a big, big boost. People needs to buy it, right? So that's what caused them to break away. When they come on the scene, right, and immediately have to fire people, that makes it more, in my mind, about the fact that Bungie's not making the money they were making before on Destiny, right? It's not bringing them as much. They have a huge overhead with so many people that they have to pay. They went to Sony. Sony says, we're going to give you $1.3 billion to keep people at the company. But guess what? Sony's fucking broke. They don't have the 1.3 billion. So they giving them in pieces. They're making monthly payments and they haven't even been able to start them yet.
Are you saying they owe Fingerhut money? Is that what
bro, they did a layaway and they didn't even start paying. So Bungie's like, bro, you told us 1.3 billion and you're not even giving us the money. Like, how are we supposed to keep these people if you ain't got the money to give them? Right?
Do you think
like
Bungie thought they would be further ahead of schedule on their next game, than today?
For them to delay it completely out, that means that they were already teetering. So what the reality came to be was that they were probably hoping that they can scale up with the money to go ahead and get this done and do the work faster. But what they came to realize is what we all are seeing is that Sony is not on the rise. They're on the downslide, right?
Decline.
So their dollars are being suppressed, not being, engaged. They're firing people, letting people go because they can't afford to keep them. Okay.
Yeah.
And these games, they're scaling back games as a service because they cost a lot of money to invest in. And they know that they're going to be essentially throwing away 80% of that money because they're not going to have 6 or 10 or 12 bangers. They're going to get maybe one if they're lucky, hopefully two. So all the other money that they spent building and developing these other games are for naught. And they know that. And that's why they got rid of the people who are saying, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and invest in games as service. Jim Ryan spending money he ain't got. Spending money he ain't got. And that's just the facts of what it is. The emotions or the thoughts about Bungie, what they did and how shitty Pete Parsons is. Listen, if Pete Parsons had all the money in the world, he wouldn't need to get rid of anybody. Now, did he do a bad tweet? Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it didn't sound great, right? To the people who just got let go. But let's also not think that because he's the CEO, he's pulling the purse strings here. He's not. It's done. Right. The company is sold. Sony's making decisions for Bungie now. Now they have that agreement where they have the creative freedom to do what they want, but that was never talked about anything further than that. Just the creative freedom to put their games anywhere. That's all Bungie. That's all Sony committed to. The money that they committed to, they didn't even start paying for yet.
It's pretty interesting to see money that you never know. I mean, like, honestly, where is that 1 billion that was supposed to be used for retention, right? Keeping people employed, keeping people from leaving the studio after Sony bought them. Now, folks, I mean, are we kidding me? They just bought them. So where is that one?
Just happened, dude.
It just happened. So where is that? You know what? Listen, before we bring in Daniel, I want to bring in Kay Asante because he only has a few minutes. He jumped in just to bail me out a little bit. Kay Asante, before you get to your next meeting, brother, let's talk about this because like I said, you and I, we talk every day. We were talking about games. We were talking about RoboCop. I got up to the part
Talking about how amazing RoboCop is. And
about
look,
the dog.
Your son just
fire.
died 2 hours
I gave
ago.
the guy a summons. I gave the guy a ticket. I gave the guy a
It's
summons for being an
terrible.
idiot.
The robot just told this woman that her kid just died 2 hours ago, and then it says mission accomplished. It's the best game ever. Oh my god,
it is so good.
Wow.
It is, yeah, because she was looking
That's
for a
wild.
son, and I knew what happened to the son because I found out, and the son got killed 2 hours ago. And I
Yes.
could have been like, okay, we'll come back in 24 hours, but I was like, nope, sorry, ma'am, your son died 2 hours ago. And she's like,
And the
oh
way
my
the
god,
robot
I can't
says it
believe
is
it.
hilarious. Oh my god,
He's a
it's the
robot,
greatest
so he
movie.
he has no feelings. So it's great.
Yes.
Listen, Asante,
Mhm.
let's talk what's going on in Bungie. Let's talk
Yep.
about what's going on in the industry. Like I said, you saw the tweet yesterday. If you didn't, anyone, I'm going to find it and read it verbatim. Paris Lilly put out a tweet. He said very simply, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, that as great as this year has been for gaming, and it is quite frankly the greatest year in gaming history when it comes to IPs and titles, both new and old, as well as remakes. I think there's going to be an asterisk next to this because of the amount of disruption in the form of firings and layoffs within the industry. And this
Yep.
is where the human element comes into conversation because, well, folks, until it changes, real people, humans, make games. And
Yeah.
real humans have families and mortgages and rents and kids going to school. And I don't know, maybe they want to have a hamburger after work. They want to eat, right? So these important things are now being marred by the fact that they don't have a job. And
Yep.
I don't know what corporate America looks like. I don't know if any of these folks are getting packages, but not everyone does. So let's talk about it, Kay. Why I got you here.
Yeah. No, I've been listening in. I've been before I jumped on. I'm listening in the chat, and I'm listening to all the great folks speak on the show, and I completely agree. 100%. C Money's on point. Ham Solo's on point. Mav like tore the force, like absolutely right. It's not their control, but they're also a bunch of man babies that need to get their act
Thank
together
you.
because yes, it is all like for real. How many studios do you know of that have been, that used to be how many X's are out there for Bungie right now, right? They are unique in the industry in that, right? And they always have a backup plan. And if you walk in having a backup plan, you will most likely use it. They've used it how many times now? Right. And to the point that was being made of, Parsons, he made it was a bad tweet. It was taken out. It was wrong moment, wrong tweet, right? But to the point that's already been made, it's not his decision whether he's keeping or he's not keeping.
Yep.
It's just not. And oh, by the way, on the point of the billions that were spent to retain talent, that's already spent. It's not within the company. It's spent, right? It's in people's wallets. They're going shopping or doing what they do with it. That money is with them, right? So now, when I say it's with them, I don't mean it's with them, the whole company. I'm talking about those at the upper echelon who could get it have gotten that already. Those who are being fired and let go now probably weren't part of that group that got the good package when Sony bought them, right? So, it kind of makes sense to me because we all knew it when we heard Sony buying them for the price they were buying them, that wow, you guys, you don't have the grip to withstand what you're trying to accomplish here, right? You're writing checks you might not be able to cash, is what we thought, right? And we were wrong. They were able to cash them, but it seems like in cashing the checks that they wrote, they now can't run the business properly. So people are getting fired, right? Because that money that we're talking about could have been money that would be reinvested into the business to then next game, next DLC, keep Destiny whole, right? But they paid that money. It's gone now, right? But they need more money to keep the business that they now own running. And they've already paid the money they've paid for this thing. And those people who are gone, or those people who got their golden parachutes, have already gotten them. So that's not money that Sony can count on anymore. And that's the reason why you're seeing what you're seeing. Now, I will add a factor into the equation that I've heard spoken about, but not on this show just yet. And I know it's annoying, and we say it, we get tired of hearing it, but I will tell you, it is a factor in this equation. Microsoft had it first, and Sony has it now, and that is
Yep.
the fallout from COVID. That is what's happening. That's what you're
Yep.
seeing. That's the
Yep.
reason why, if I ask you, what is PlayStation going to release in 2024? You'll say Wolverine, maybe, because I think that's 2025.
No,
Yeah, it is no doubt 2025.
Thank you. They've
Right?
yet to have any new IPs this generation yet. I've been saying that from like the top of the mountains. Like they have no new IPs. Everything that they've put out so far has been something that they've been
Remaster,
working on
remake.
from a previous
That's right.
generation or
Exactly.
Oh, come on,
two.
Rocket League, man. Rocket League? We're all
Come on,
excited
bro.
for that.
Come on, bro. I love Rocket League.
Rocket
man. I
League's
love Rocket
fire, man.
See,
There's literally,
look,
it's on fire.
The reason why they were able to benefit in the beginning is because, like you guys are saying, they put their ducks in a row in a different way than Microsoft did. So when COVID hit, they already had a few bullets in the tank that were almost done. So there you go with your remake remaster of Demon Souls. There you go with Ratchet and Clank during COVID. So it was like, oh well, if these guys are able to release games, why can't everybody else? Yeah, they had the stuff that was in the pipeline was very close to done then, but the effects that COVID had it on them, and it's been lasting throughout this whole period. And now you're seeing it, because the question you'll ask yourself, like I was being generous, I'm like, maybe we see Ghost of Tsushima in 2024. But as a cheap plug, Paris Lily said on my show last week, if you're gonna see Ghost of Tsushima 2 in 2024, you'd see a trailer or an announcement or something for it now.
Correct. Yes.
Right? And we haven't seen anything now. There's just no PlayStation deals in big games, and big games need long tails for marketing. So all of their big games would require at least 6 months.
Well,
right?
they're
Which
also
means-
ballsy where they flaunt what they have, Kay.
That's right. And they'll do the big great grand gestures and big great grand podcast events and whatnot. None of that have come here, right? So I say, like, people need to understand that they've been playing a very great marketing game. I always give them credit for being expert marketers, but they've kind of, how you gonna get out of this one there, Jim? Like, they're in a bit of a pickle, right? Like, we see what's happening, but they're experts at, a sleight of hand. Here you go, Stella Yams. It's good, no worries. But you ain't got any of that. No, all those tricks are gone now. Like, how you gonna get out of this one there, Totoki? Because
no more
clearly
19
Jim is
inches
gone.
of Venom. No more Venom. You go.
Right? and let me be clear for those who are, whatever. I love Spider-Man 2. For me personally, no shade to anybody who thinks differently. For me personally, that game, the talk of bugs was a little overblown. Yes, it has some bugs, but it's not killing the experience. It's a great, excellent game. I mean, when people put it in Game of the Year conversation, I'm like, yep, it's there. But for as long as it is, it took me 18 hours to get from beginning of the game to the very last mission, right? After that, what does PlayStation have for the next however long, right? And all of this is why you're seeing Connie Booth situation, why you're seeing quiet layoffs left and right. For me, and we will wait to see, and I'll leave it off at this. I've always believed that with the letting go with the retiring of old Jimmy Boy, it seems maybe the people at the top don't like some decisions being made. Either they don't like it or they don't like how it's being marketed, right?
Yep.
And if they don't like how it's being marketed, you're going to see it full bore, gas game, new guy, new rah-rah. We'll see that soon, right? But if they don't like what the decisions or the steps being made, you're going to get what I call the connect is optional moment, which is out of nowhere, all of a sudden, people are going to start being let go. All of a sudden, all your gas games are going to start disappearing. All of a sudden, they're going to be like, nothing to see here. Remember that whole model of we sell you console, you buy game? Let's try that again. And I suspect we're going to start seeing that with all of the craziness that's happening as far as the moving and shaking of executives and all that. Connie Booth, to me, was a sacrificial lamb. She complained that where we're going is not right. And what did she get? She got fired for it. Because, when all of this started happening, now who is the executive? She is the booty of the group, if you will, the Matt Booty of the group, right? So if it's not going in the right direction, the buck stops with her and the guy at the top. So what do you see? You see Jim's gone. You see Connie's gone, right? I'm waiting to see the connect is optional moment. That will change it for me, right? I'm waiting to see who they put in position, because you've already seen a bunch of people, and I know you guys have been reading the Twitter streets. You know, there are now articles being written that they need their Phil Spencer, right? That will change. Hey, right?
But they wanted Phil Spencer fired, though.
So yes,
minutes
now,
ago.
we talked
Right.
about
Now
this yesterday,
Sony
Ham Solo. That's
Phil
right. That's right.
Spencer type person. But
you know,
They want
all
him
wanted
fired
his
so
job.
they can hire him for PlayStation.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Nah, that's
oh,
what it is.
don't worry. Don't
Makes
worry.
sense.
PlayStation has many options. What are you talking about? There's Bobby Kotick. There's who else? You know, there are a lot of options out there. You know, we shall see. But you know, for me personally,
he'll come.
Don, that's right. Me personally, I
Donnie
think
D.
all of this is a good move. It's painful right now, but it's a good move because it tells me that someone in the upper echelons of PlayStation, of Sony, does not like some of the decisions being made. Now, even though unfortunately they're basically breaking glasses everywhere while restructuring, they're destroying a lot of stuff. Hopefully, this means ultimately we don't live in a world where there's 11 gas games coming at us, right? Hopefully we get the house of creativity again. Maybe they go back, they limit budget, they limit scope, and they let people get a bit more adventurous. Hopefully, that's what I'm gonna leave.
It's kind of interesting that all this is happening in this like interim period between Jim Ryan and the whoever takes his place, right? Because we have the Jim is on the way out. He's not really saying anything, not talking that much. You have the interim person taking over, and all of a sudden you have this string of layoffs and this potential change of direction and all this kind of things. It seems like maybe they're trying to change a lot of things.
For you? Right,
it does, man. Like
it spells it, really out.
Does. And
because right now, right, with Microsoft's org change, right? Let's say Phil gets up one morning and goes, you know what? I'm tired of traveling. I'm done. Who's replacing him? Well, we have Peaches. People put the Peaches in the chat if you know who I'm talking about. We have Peaches. We have Sarah Bond now, who could potentially do. There's a line of succession easily established, right? Yeah. Where's the line of succession for Jim Ryan? That tells you that is the biggest red flag ever, right? Yeah. No line of succession for a CEO. That is one-on-one.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what tells me, man, 100%. They don't like what's being done. They're like, you and all of y'all get out of here. We're literally turning the boat because we don't like where you brought us. That's what it appears.
The problem is who's turning the boat. You know what I'm saying? So the person who's turning the boat, yeah, they don't like where it's going because they're looking at the dollars and they're looking at the potential loss in the future, but they don't know where the fuck to turn that boat. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are not PlayStation people. These are people who are just paying the dollar so that PlayStation can function. Right. So how are you going to?
I won't be so presumptuous to say they don't know, because they have been part of the equation to at least get PlayStation to where they are today. So I'll give them some. I'll wait and see.
I don't know, Asante. I think I'm leaning with C Money, because I feel like this entire generation, if you haven't been paying attention, it's on
too late
you
now.
Because they've been a walking contradiction from the jump of this generation, with backwards compatibility in games, with PC, with
generations.
Yeah, you know, I mean, there's a laundry list of things that they said that they weren't going to do. I'm
not disagreeing with you, sir. I literally have like $600 just like virtually in my mind, waiting for the day they say, yeah, now you can plug the PSVR 2 into a PC, and then I'll go, here's my money. Until then, it stays in my pocket.
Yeah, the most interesting thing though is this is for the first time in a long time, PlayStation's message about what kind of platform they are is not clear.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's definitely marred.
It's very like, are they doing live service? Are they doing single player games? Are they the premium console? Or like, are they what's their direction? Yeah, like there's
what does that come into? What does that remind you of? A certain other big company that had the same situation and then ultimately had to get sold off. That's right, Bethesda, the single player house that lived in the single player world. Oh, save single player. And then all of a sudden, they fell victim to needing to make money. So they switched to multiplayer, get that everywhere, where let's do it. And then it failed, and now they got purchased. Sony, they're pivoting now. So supposedly they're scaling things back, supposedly. But what does that really equal, right? Like, if you were doing one thing for a while, let's not pretend like they're going to be able to flip a switch and all of a sudden these single player games are just going to populate their their servers now, and it's like, oh well, we got these new games, right? You're talking years for them to actually do that if they're now going to just be scaling up because they're taking people off of the games as a service.
Oh, they're
and
2
putting
or
them
3
back
years
to
out,
single
money
player.
easily.
Yeah.
See,
So what
but
are
you
you
know
gonna
what,
do?
Boom?
And
You know what?
they said it
C
too.
Money's even more right than you are right on this, because unless they've changed their minds on this and they've scaled their budgets down, you're talking 6-7 years. Like big monster game. That's what they make. And in between that time, you have your remaster, remake, 6-7 years per game. Imagine if they turned that around starting today.
But you know that, but the problem is they can't afford to do that, right? They can't
Yeah.
afford to do that, and that's why that's not what we're gonna get. And that's why those rumors about getting another God of War DLC type game that's still
Yep.
using that engine, and it's now gonna
That's
do
great.
this. Now they're
I
making a
want
new
more
story.
of that. Please.
Yeah,
Give me more
we
of that.
don't. But we don't, when what they gave us wasn't even tapping into this technology base, right? If they're still using the same, they're gonna use the same base. They're not gonna create something from scratch because that's where the money comes from,
Well,
right?
no,
That's
I
where
get
all the
that.
money
I
is
get that.
spent.
But I
So they're
guess
just
from
going to regurgitate new stories on top of what they did. And again, that's fine in general. If they gave us a real next generation game, which they have not yet, if they gave us a real next generation game and then said, this is our base where we're going to now tell multiple stories from here, dope, right? They did it with 2018 Spider-Man, right? They gave us that, and then they gave us Miles. Nobody was complaining. It's dope.
Yeah.
It was a DLC type game, but it was dope, right?
Hey, gentlemen,
I was
do that right
complaining.
now.
I was complaining.
Real quick, Kale Walker in the chat just dropped a bomb into my DM, folks, and it's breaking news. Yeah, it comes the way of Paul Tassi. New information about the Bungie layoffs per a personal source of his, an unnamed source. I'm going to read it for you verbatim, folks. It says the layoffs decisions came directly from Bungie management and not Sony. This is not about Sony replacing Bungie employees with their own people, according to the source. Many employee benefits, though not health insurance, only last until the end of the month if you're let go. Laying people off on the 30th means a single additional day of coverage. Holy shit. Are you kidding me?
Wow, the disrespect.
Yeah, and wait, it gets worse.
Respect.
It gets worse. Check this out. Many employees have unvested shares as a result of the Sony purchase. These shares would be received based on staying with the company for a certain number of years following the sale.
It has to get vested. Yep.
But those shares revert to Bungie if you leave, even if you are fired, which is what is happening now to many of those affected.
So they gave them unvested shares with requirements to stay for X amount of years for then the shares to get vested, then you get your money, and then they fired them so they can come back to them.
The slime that we've been talking about for years,
man. Oh my gosh.
Well,
this is
that's
one of these
that we've been talking about.
First of all, shout out to Kale Walker for this. This was amazing. Thank you so much for the DM. And can I be vulgar for a second? Fuck Pete Parsons.
Yeah.
Because he's obviously the CEO. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Pong, I love you. You're my brother from another. He hit the nail last night on the head. This was poor timing. The disrespect now that I look at what he wrote in that tweet is 10 times worse now that I know this breaking news thanks to Paul Tassi. That's disgusting. And that is ultimately going to be a black eye for the studio. And listen, they're owned by Sony, so it's another black eye for Sony. This is gross. I don't even, you know what? Everyone has had a chance to talk except Daniel. Daniel, welcome back, brother. I'm glad that you're here. Let's get your hot take on not only the thought and theory of Bungie, but the breaking news that they're ultimately screwing over the affected.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess I'm not surprised to hear that they're screwing people over, because that's kind of what layoffs are, like 9 out of 10 times. Not to that degree of like trying to get stock back, but like pretty much every time that there's a wave of layoffs, I mean, um, it's, up until a second ago, I was going to be like, I don't know if I can. Well, I guess I can't blame Sony for it, because I wasn't going to do that anyway. But I was going to say this is something that we've been seeing all over the place, right? This is something that we've been seeing not just across the video game space, but across all of tech, really. Where also, if my audio starts just getting terrible, it's because my internet's been eating a bag of dicks lately, so I don't know what's happening there.
It's all right. You sound good. You
Okay,
sound
cool.
A
For now,
bag.
we'll see. Who
Okay.
knows?
Good to know. A whole bag.
It's yeah.
Multiple.
I tried calling people about it, and it didn't help. But anyway, this is something we've been seeing all across the board. Basically, every tech company is laying people off. Although I don't think we've seen Nintendo do it yet, and I think we only saw the one wave from Xbox so far. But I have no reason to believe that they're immune to it. Like, I would not be surprised to see layoffs there too. And that's gonna suck. But man, now hearing this other thing about like they were trying to do it to get stocks back from certain people, that's a whole bag of worms.
Wow.
We already
It also
knew-
leads to why there's been so many leaks before this was officially announced, right? Because those employees are angry and they're letting it
Yeah,
out.
why wouldn't they be? They have
Right,
every right to
yeah.
be pissed. Yeah. It's disgusting.
Well, I combine this with the knowledge of like hearing Lord Cognito talking about how Destiny was recently, or potentially still is, in like its worst state ever after a recent update or something, and the fact that they're also delaying the was it the final shape or the last shape or something like that, which sounds like the
final
last
shape has been
expansion
delayed.
of Destiny 2. Maybe they were planning on gearing up for a Destiny 3 or something. I don't know. Although I did ask one of my only friends who's masochistic enough to still play Destiny, and he said, no, it's probably not the last one. Bungie loves money, and I guess this is just more proof of that. So shout out Christian. He was 100% right. But we've known that Bungie has had poor management issues for a while. It was actually one of the reasons, if you remember the leaked court documents, it was one of the reasons why Xbox didn't acquire them. They had them on the list of people that they were looking at, and one of the big negatives that they put underneath them was mismanagement, or I forget the exact term they used, but basically they use more money than they make. Was like a big point against against the idea of purchasing Bungie for them. I would have assumed up until a minute ago that that this was something that came down from Sony, just because we've been seeing so many layoffs. But man, I don't know. One of the people that we know was laid off for this, and I don't know if you talked about it earlier while I was punching my internet man.
Oh, that was just so appropriate. He punches internet man, and then his internet man punched him back. Oh,
oh no, it did again. Because it was like, if you look at a Halo, a list of Halo music, like go to Spotify and pull up a soundtrack, it's gonna have two names, and one of them is, I think it was Michael. What was it? Michael Santabilo or something? Was it? Do you remember? Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, I'm not sure.
Hold on, I'll pull it up right now.
You mean the Bungie the Bungie
Michael Salvatore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's
So he was
suing
one
about
of the
his
people.
funds? Yeah.
He was one of the people that got let go as a part of this.
Mhm.
And if you look at a soundtrack list for the Halo games, you're going to see two names over and over and over again. It's Martin O'Donnell and Michael Salvatore. And I guess they were just like, hey, you know that guy who made music that everyone loves so much? You got high schoolers who never played the original game singing it in their bathroom at school. We don't need that guy. Get rid of that guy. He's probably worth too much.
Sad. You know, look, at the end of the day, thanks to several people in the community, and obviously Paul Tassi doing the gaming lord's work with his sources, this really does paint Bungie as a scumbag kind of a company. I'm sorry to say, when you see people being let go, so their stock gets reverted back to Bungie, that is disgusting on the level that I've never seen. And listen, I've been gaming for 40 plus years, and I've only been doing YouTube for 6. So obviously my ear is to the floor with everything gaming, because obviously I have to produce 5 shows a week that you folks care to listen to. And if it's all rubbish, you're not going to listen to. So I do my due diligence to read. I do have some sources. I do have a lot of anonymous people that I talk to behind the scenes. This is probably the most gross thing I have uncovered, and I didn't uncover anything. Basically, thanks to Kaya Walker and Paul Tassi, we have learned that ultimately Sony was not responsible for these layoffs. This comes directly from Bungie, and ultimately these people that were with Bungie that stayed after the acquisition are now being given the short end of the stick and pushed off the plank with no health insurance. What? Are you freaking kidding me? No packages for these people? What if they have families? What if they have kids? What if they get sick? I don't know if any of this came into conversation, but it probably should have. I'm just saying that to me it's a little crazy to think that they were just purchased. He's a CEO. He sold his company for 3.7 billion with a B, and this is how we treat the employees? Wow, Pete. I don't even know what to say. Other than the fact that I hope that more people, I know this is a small show and maybe a lot of people don't give a flying shoot about it, but that's fine. I do hope that we hear from the Matty Plays or the Skill Ups or the ACGs who have 1 million subscribers, because this is a conversation that has to be had. I hope Paris Lilly keeps talking about this. I hope Kind of Funny, even though they have friends in the industry, they need to get on board with this. They need to get out there and let the people know that this is not right. This is not the kind of behavior that we expect from games that we play and love. And I'm sorry. I mean, listen, like I said, I know this is not even 14K yet, but I'm proud to be one of the first to talk about this. And I hope everybody on this panel and everyone that's listening, I hope your favorite panels talk about this, because this is disgusting. It is disgusting because, like I said, at the end of the day, the human factor is always left out of the conversation when it comes to games, because we're greedy, right? We just want what we want when we want it, and we want to play our games, and we want to pretend that everything is unicorns and rainbows. It's not. People make these games. And the one thing I will say, shout out to Clobriel, who I know does listen to the show. He put out a tweet yesterday, bombastic as it could possibly be, saying, hey, if you were affected by this, I'm sorry to hear that, but here are some links to where they're hiring within Xbox Game Studios. Turn 10 is hiring. Undead Labs is hiring. I believe Rare is hiring as well. I believe someone from Bethesda put something out there for that Bethesda's hiring, as well as some of their other sub companies. I haven't seen this from EA. I didn't see this from any of the big ones. I hope that these folks that are affected do find work, and rather quickly. And that's the one thing I will say about the industry, not the conglomerates, but the actual industry. They do have a very wide open door policy where if you were affected, they are welcoming. So I hope that everyone that did lose their job, or whether you were fired or whether you were let go, how it went down, that you find work quickly, because like I said, this world kind of sucks right now. Eggs are $5. Gas is in California is almost $7 a gallon. I mean,
Boom,
the
you
world
mind if
is
I cut in real quick?
yeah, absolutely, please.
Because brother, what you're describing to me is what is what a lot of us seen, leaving high school, going into college.
Yep.
How are we looking back at this industry and it's being treated, and no disrespect to those that work in this industry, because I've worked in this industry before and it can be profitable, but this sounds like telemarketing. The way this has been treated.
Yeah.
And what's wild to me is it takes an incredible amount of skill to be able to do the stuff that they're doing. So this industry that takes all this talent, and you have people being treated as if going ahead and leave, we'll find somebody tomorrow. Screw it.
So Ham, one moment. I have to leave, but I like before I go, let me hark on your point and say it's because of the passion. It's because of the gamers. It's because of those of us who love this thing so much. So even as technology guys, we'll spend all moment and night making these games because you love it so much. And because
Right.
you do, and they know it, they use you like a pig, like a workhorse.
Like
to
an old
implement-
sock.
to implement what they need. And then as soon as you're done, they're like, get out of here. There's always 15 other bright-eyed children behind you ready to give of
What a
themselves
shame.
for this industry.
Disgusting.
It's unfortunate. But I must go, unfortunately, because
Yes,
my,
Kate,
my
thanks so
other
much for
ball and
jumping in,
chain
brother.
is calling me.
Take
We'll
it
see you.
easy,
See you
brother.
later,
Peace, my man.
brother.
Peace
Thank
out.
you.
Easy, bro.
I just think it's super duper sad because this right here, like if this doesn't open your eyes about what's kind of going on within the industry, and this isn't like a mom and pops type of dev team.
Right.
This
No, it's not.
is
Yeah.
this is
yeah.
something that is synonymous, something that people have been that people have been looking at and proud of for a long time. Bungie, oh, you're getting them. Oh, Xbox felt like I remember when when they said they were getting acquired by Sony. Like Xbox fans were pissed. There were plenty of people that were just like, man, we want. Why wouldn't we want them back? Now we're looking at them and we're just like, yo, Microsoft is moving differently. They don't look so needy to the point where they're just
'Cause
going to
they
grab
ain't, brother.
whatever. No, not at
Because
all.
they ain't.
They ain't at all.
Yeah.
In fact, it's the other way around, where Sony's looking needy. They reached into the cookie jar and they didn't find a cookie.
Yeah. You know what? It's very unfortunate to see this happening. Listen, folks, I hope that first of all, we have on Halloween, folks, and I don't know if this is good or bad. We just had 666 in the chat. Oh my
Yes.
god.
Let's
I've seen
go.
that.
It's a sign.
Oh no. Oh no.
So
That's
so
hilarious.
listen, a big shout out to near 700 people here. Again, I do want to ask before we move on to a fun topic, because I'm glad that we had this conversation. A big shout out to Mav and for Ham and for C Money and for Daniel and of course K Asante for jumping in. This was originally a one-man show, and here we are. We have this amazing cast of incredible content creators, and we're going to continue the conversation because one of the big things happening for Xbox, according to Jez Corden of Windows Central, is that there is supposedly something big going to be announced at this year's BlizzCon 2023 in the form of an Xbox exclusive. And many people, including Jez Corden himself, who said this on the Xbox too. And again, shout out to I don't know, I'm starting to wonder, is Idle Sloth a robot? Because I DM'd him and I said, hey, Idle, any chance you have that clip? And almost within the snap of a finger, he had two there. So I don't know, Idle. I got to meet you in person. I think you might be a robot under that
Got a
skin.
little AI going on.
Yeah, he's very fast with it. So shout out to Idle Sloth who dropped the audio clip, and you know he's known for it. They got slothed as it were. It turns out, folks, that the survival game that they've been working on at Blizzard is supposedly not only going to be announced at BlizzCon 2023 in the opening ceremony, but it is going to be announced as an Xbox PC exclusive. That is a really, really, really big deal. But let me catch up on the super chats. There's been quite a few of them and a few channel members, as well as, of course, some member chats. First of all, Eternal Shaddai has become a channel member. I think that might have been from yesterday. Eternal, brother, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Bold Alpha Wolfpack doesn't drop just one $5 super chat. He drops two. And the first one, he says, a huge reveal would be if they announced a single player experience for WoW characters like Arceus, Idion, as Savias Windrunner. that would be huge. You see, first of all, I can't believe I got the pronunciations right because I'm terrible at that. And I don't know who those characters because I've never played WoW, but I will say this. If they somehow make a single player World of Warcraft game, I am effing all in because I love single player stuff. His second super chat of $5 says a lot of times seasonal layoffs are community reps, not devs. Were the layoffs for devs? Yes, the layoffs were for actual developers. Some people even in management, which is just crazy. Highlander 001, a generous friend of the program, has gifted 5 Double Barrel Gaming memberships. Brother, that is crazy. Thank you so much for the generosity. And folks, if you did get one of those memberships, first of all, thank Highlander 001 in the chat. And more importantly, maybe you consider sticking around because what that does for you is on this Friday, it will be Mrs. Boom's birthday bash. I keep saying the 3rd or 4th. I think it's the 4th annual Mrs. Boom's birthday bash. And we're giving away, her birthday, you folks get the prizes because we're giving away $500 worth of gift cards, 10 $50 gift cards for you to maybe win and buy RoboCop or something. I don't know. But what we are going to do is give you a choice of where that $50 goes to. Xbox, PSN, or of course Nintendo eShop. And we're gonna add one more to it because I know some people play on Steam. If you do win and you want it for Steam, we will get you the code. It's not a problem. We'll get you a Steam code. And more importantly, if you are someone outside of the US, we're one of the few shows that will represent that prize. We will send you the money for the prize. We will pay the transfer fees as well as the denominational value if the monies in your country are more. So you get your full $50 and you don't pay anything. The only caveat is that we use PayPal only. No cash apps, no writing checks, nothing funny bunny like that. It's PayPal only because it protects me and Mrs. Boom. But Bold Alpha Wolfpack drops, actually leaves who's been a channel member for a month. So, brother, thank you so much for that. He says, karma for Bungie canceling factions, maybe some retaliation from the string pullers at Naughty Dog. I mean, karma's a bitch, right? And then she bites. So I don't know. I mean,
factions hasn't been canceled for that long. So, like, theoretically speaking, if they're walking a lot of these ideas back and factions, theoretically wasn't that bad, maybe that comes back.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we don't know.
Not after the last Naughty Dog layoffs, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Naughty Dog had layoffs too. I forgot.
They had a lot of them too.
They all have layoffs over there right now.
What
man.
a studio. I don't know how people are looking at, like, I don't know how the headline. Let's put it this way. Let's be real 100%.
Please,
if
by all
Xbox
means.
was in this situation right now where all of these things were happening, we would see nothing but articles about the demise of Xbox.
Please speak on that because
Phil Spencer his head. We want it on the platter.
Hashtag fire Phil. Yeah, absolutely.
Those are facts.
They would be coming nonstop day after day from another outlet talking about Xbox is doomed. Meanwhile, we're literally watching the house of PlayStation burn, and there's no peeps, nothing, nada. Everything's excused. Everything's okay.
The equivalent would be Phil Spencer announces his retirement. Matt Booty gets fired, and other people leave behind him. Then let's say the coalition has layoffs and delays a couple of their games or whatever, and then you also have layoffs at, like, let's say Double Fine, or then you also have layoffs at, like, Ninja Theory. Then you also have layoffs from, like, another team, and then all of a sudden a newly acquired company, like, let's say Bethesda ZeniMax, has another round of layoffs as well. Like, that is the equivalent. Imagine that if that all happened within like a 3-week period of time.
It's crazy,
right? Like the amount.
It's like that's like if every volcano on Hawaii erupted at the same time, and everybody's like, "This is cool."
Yeah, everybody was like, "Xbox is going out of business." You know what I mean? Xbox is like leaving the industry. Like they're gonna stop making consoles. They're gonna stop making games. Or go multiplayer. There's just like what everybody would say is like they're doomed and they're going to back out of of it. You know what I mean? Like, but
No,
there's
true.
right now, it's just like everybody's separating it. Like, okay, there's just this problem. Okay, let's just talk about this for a day. Okay, we're done. Right? Oh, we'll
Yeah,
talk
it's
about it,
true.
but like compounded, it's
Yeah.
it's a massive shift.
Where I mean, it's a fantastic point. Obviously, I want to move on to the BlizzCon thing, but we have to address this, folks. Sorry, we got to continue this conversation because listen, I've been calling media bias for years, and I've only been doing been YouTube for 6 years, right? Not that long. The bias is apparent. Okay, where are the IGN articles and the GameSpot articles, and of course the Kotaku articles, and where's where are all of the articles pointing out the failures at Sony right now? Granted, these layoffs, I think Kay Asante hit it. I actually said that to open up the show. I really think, and this is being fair and earnest, that this is the result of the amount of hiring that happened during COVID. And obviously, profits are being declined because people are now going outside. People aren't buying as many games as they were. We're not sheltering in place. We're not spending, money, on DLC. So there less profits for the conglomerates, and they're going to start letting people go. But listen, the house of Sony is on fire. It's burning.
Facts.
It is burning
Facts.
within. That is an absolute fact. You can see Jim Ryan again. They're leaderless, and the fact that Hiroki Totoki of Sony proper has taken over all the decision makings for SIE. That's like Amy Hood taking over for Phil Spencer if they fired Phil. He's running the show.
And,
right? That
and-
would be the equivalent of it.
And boom, I've seen articles, but all these articles are like they're pushing the attention away from Sony, and they're saying, "Oh, this is an industry-wide problem," because there is some other stuff going on in the industry, but we have multiple things within a period of weeks within Sony in itself.
Yep.
And the thing is, like Sony and PlayStation, they're the ones that are being so vocal. We know the best way to do things here. We have the sustainable platform. This is the right way to do things here at PlayStation. We outsell the competition 2-1. Making premium quality games is the right way to do things. Anything else is not living up to the standards of the customer and what gamers expect. We decide when generations start. This is how you share games. All this other BS stuff that they kept saying in the past.
Yep.
You see the success of their consoles still selling, but yet their games are not. Software and services continues to be down. Shifting entire studios, going off into games of service, people that have never made a games of service game before. And then you have a showcase this year, which their entire fan base absolutely hated, and you didn't even have one last year. So you come out with this showcase this year, and you have crap to show and live service games from studios that have never made a game before. And you expect people to be excited about those games. Now, you had the one supposed savior for live service in your hands because you went out there and spent $3.7 billion on them, and that was Bungie. And we go, hey, but it's okay. We got Marathon. Now that's delayed. What is the pipeline going on? And when we talked about Jim Ryan, when I said when Jim Ryan left, he saw the writing on the wall at the shitstorm that was ahead of them. And then now we're seeing all of this within a period of weeks after he announced his retirement. This is not a coincidence. There is turmoil going on behind the scenes. They don't know the right direction to go right now.
Hey, gentlemen, you know what?
Issues.
It's in front of us. There's no behind.
Man, Mav on the mic right now. Mav on the mic.
Everybody.
Listen, I didn't want to stop, and this is too good. So you know what? Let's continue this conversation, folks. And this is not, again, I understand that we had a serious conversation, but you know what? Mav just literally laid down the golden bricks. I figured I'm going to follow this golden path. Hopefully I don't get killed by a witch. But listen, I have in front of me, folks, because, sometimes in the middle of the night, I get up and I write. And I usually do my best writing when I'm in the dark by myself. And the only thing that's illuminated is the screen in front of me. My ideas pour onto the page. It's what good writers. I'm not a great writer, but this is what I did the other night. Because, there's been a lot of talk about Sony in the last couple of weeks, post ABK signing. right? I just want to paint a picture for you folks, and I want everyone here to get on, get on their high horse, and let's talk about this. This is what, outside of the layoffs and the dysfunction and the disarray that is SIE, right? I want to present a list of what PlayStation looks like in 2023, folks. And when I'm done with this list, I'll go to Ham Solo first. This is a conundrum. This is from the market leader. Okay, check this out, Ham.
What's up?
PSVR 2.0, a paperweight, failed, right? Jim Ryan gets fired because he didn't leave on his own. I don't believe that for a second, right? Connie Booth, responsible for 120 plus releases under her leadership, is fired. Her team walks off the job, from what we understand, right? PlayStation raises PlayStation Plus by $40. The only one single player game that the first party game they have coming out this year is Spider-Man, and it's marred with bugs. PlayStation Studios turned into Gas Game Company, and now there's infighting with the studios. No roadmap for 2024 and beyond. After 3 years in development, The Last of Us Factions 2 canceled by their latest acquisition in Bungie. You can add Bungie's disgusting behavior. PS5 handheld, whatever that thing is called, is going to be DOA when it's released. Finally, PlayStation 5 Slim is announced, and the payers, meaning their fans, get charged $50 upkeep for the digital one, and they give you a paper clip to hold up your near $600 device, and on the back end, ask you for $30 to stand it vertically. And on top of that, if this is not the cherry on the shit sundae that I have just made for everyone, after 2 years of being too good to show up to a show, they have two of the worst showcases in the company's history. Ham Solo, I don't think I could make a better or worse picture when it comes for Sony. Let's talk about it.
My inner PlayStation fan is in a fetal position right now from what you just got done saying. I mean, it is definitely just a rough direction for Sony to be in. And here, this tells me specifically that, hey, mismanagement happened long ago.
Yep.
Not right now. And what's crazy is we've been talking about it. We've been talking about this for years now. Hey Sony, what are you guys doing? Hey Sony, you guys don't look so brand new. You look like you're redoing the same stuff over and over. Hey Sony, what new IPs do you got? Hey, what did you mean by generations? What do you mean no day one games on your service, but you're charging about the same or more, depending on the way that you decide to digest it, right? If you do month to month, you're paying more than Game Pass. Easy. So it's just like your guys' mismanagement really threw you guys in a black hole to the point that hemorrhaging money is just flying in directions and you don't even know what you're paying for at this point anymore. I mean, that by itself is frustrating. And then on top of it, us fans, as Mav, I believe, was saying earlier, we don't know what you're real. It feels like you're talking to us, but you're not saying anything. You just keep talking and talking and talking, and I'm listening, and I'm just like, yo, so about them PC games or about them first party games or Herman Holtz, what the heck did you mean Santa Monica had something hot going on? You ain't talk about nothing. It's just so dang confusing with them. And then on top of it, they have no showcase for a hot minute. Everybody's super duper excited, and then they come out and show you what they had, which was a big old goose egg, a whole lot of nothing. It's just not good. And it's exactly what I believe C Money was talking about earlier. Yo, if this was Xbox, they would be on fire right now. They would be like people would be screaming from. I mean, people were screaming from the high heavens just this past May about Phil Spencer being out of here.
Yep.
Xbox being out of here. Maybe Bethesda needs to leave Xbox because the mismanagement with Arcane and stuff like that, they left them out to dry. You want to talk about being left out to dry? How come we're not getting this same energy for Naughty Dog right now? They've yet to give us anything new this generation. In fact, they gave us a PS3 game.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
and that's supposed to be
generations,
your
bro.
starting quarterback.
Two
That's your
generations they didn't give us
star
anything new.
guy. That's your star guy right there. That's your star quarterback under center being paid the most.
yeah,
Like, what are y'all doing over there? And then you hire somebody to come help, and all they say is don't do it. That's the best. That's the best that you have. Like, this is tragic.
yeah, it is.
It's a really uncomfortable situation for the people that work under the development teams at Sony, and also for the fans that continuously pay in hopes for something to get better while not being told anything at the exact same time. They're just being told to just pray, just keep praying, just keep praying.
Well, don't
I know
forget they
people.
dropped Quantum Era on us, so we got something.
Come
Well,
on.
yeah, oh yeah, they
We got a dope ass exclusive, all right?
we're
Quantum
gonna
Era.
talk. You know what? It was a subject I was gonna talk about. I'm gonna move that over to Friday's Breakfast with Boom because that Quantum Era, that development studio tried to use the console war to sell their game, and it's a 2.5 right now on Metacritic. So yeah, that didn't go all too well for
The worse
them.
than Gollum.
Worst, probably it's being considered it's the worst game of the year.
Wow.
Mav, before I bring in the C Money and the rest of the panel, you want to add some stuff. You put it in the private chat. Please, by all means, continue piling on how bad it is for Sony right now because I didn't even think about this.
Yeah. Okay. So just in the last few weeks, right? You had visual arts layoffs. You had the announcement of the first lawsuit happening within Bungie for their original layoffs. Now you have more Bungie layoffs, adding on top of everything that Paul Tassi just said. You have the Media Molecule layoffs. You have the Naughty Dog layoffs and the potential canceling of factions. At least it's in a horrible state. That's maybe way put on the back burner. You have Jim Ryan retiring, and you also have Connie Booth being fired, as well as maybe some of her team as well. All within the matter of weeks. And there's, like I said before, like they're supposed to be the ones that know how to make the right decisions for the industry, right? That's the image that they've put out there. Like Game Pass, we don't see that as a sustainable business model. We can't put our games on our subscription service day one. How are we going to do that, right? Meanwhile, Xbox has proven that they have been profitable doing that exact same damn thing with actually in that same time period, less first party games. And now Xbox's pipeline is going full force and PlayStation still, Gran Turismo 7 is still not in PlayStation Plus. Let that sink in for a second. And that's one of their few games as a service type games that they have for people to spend money on.
And considering the film,
decisions?
The film would have gotten people to get into the game because the sales went up, and that's what they wanted. The film, listen, my nephew, who does not even own a PlayStation, was like, Theo, you got to see this Gran Turismo movie. I loved it. And I'm like, oh, I'll check it out with him. And we're going to watch it this weekend.
Yeah, they keep half stepping. They keep dipping their toe into things and trying to do different things. And they were like, okay, well, what we're doing is not working. They said it in multiple interviews. They actually said themselves, you see us going more multi-platform. And what they meant by that at the time was PC, right?
Right.
Yet, where's the PC Store app that was supposed to be in the works for so long, right? Where is that? Why are you still launching games and re-releasing the same game on PC 4 years later and then trying to pawn off a remaster to the PS5 owners on a game that they just bought a few years ago. Like, this is the type of decisions that people are getting upset with, and people aren't buying. Yeah, there's a reason people aren't buying as many games, because they're all definitive editions, they're remasters, they're rehashed sequels of the same type of games you've been making over and over and over again. People are going to eat up Spider-Man, right? And that was something that everybody was looking forward to. But beyond that, now you look at what's in store going forward, and there's a huge hole. There's a huge hole. And the only things we know about that are supposed to happen next year are huge question marks of whether they're going to be good, or what kind of games they are, or how good are these studios. We don't even know what they're capable of. And we're supposed to be excited about this direction when you've been trying to say all along that that's not the best way to do things. You've been trying to cultivate this fan base about one model. Remember, even people saying like PlayStation is like HBO and Xbox is like basic cable. You remember that kind of crap early on?
I do.
Right?
I remember it.
Remember when PlayStation was the first platform to get behind the price increase on games and raise their prices to $70? Said it's because of the premium and the quality of these games, you're going to see it. Yet they release PS4 versions of those same damn games with hardly any damn difference for $10 less. Then they sell you definitive editions for $10 more. Years later, after the same games have been released, time and time again, you see this. You see, oh, the PS4 controllers don't work on a PS5. Oh, it's okay. We believe in generations, all this kind of stuff. Now you have the PS5 digital, which is years after the original, is actually more expensive than the first PS5 digital that's coming out. All of these different things. But, hey, you guys, we know what's best for you, right? We know you like PlayStation. We love our brand, and we know you do to it, and we know how much you love getting screwed by us. So keep taking it, everybody. We're going to keep giving it to you. Yet behind the scenes, you find out right now, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They realized that they had financial issues with the projections that they had with the games in the pipelines that they had going on. They went too far in one direction. Now they realize that, hey, making games of service and live service games is actually really expensive and difficult. And you actually have to have people that are familiar with doing it. And the one team that we brought in to supposed to be the experienced people doing it are behind schedule and have turmoil in their own studio, and they can't even get their own shit together. So what are we going to do? We're just going to completely clean house, lay off a bunch of people, tighten the belt straps, and then try and get a new direction without Jim Ryan at the helm. And that's what's going on. But yet nobody is talking about it. Nobody out there is speaking on it.
That's the big thing. It's like you just spit so much fire. And the sad part is that not a word matters. Nothing. Because the ponies that live on that side of the fence, they don't allow themselves to feel this. They don't allow themselves to embrace the bullshit. So they sit there and they just take whatever Sony gives them. And that's why Sony does it. No matter how much us Xbox heads who also like PlayStation go ahead and scream this shit from the mountaintop, nothing matters because Sony is insulated from the noise. It doesn't make a difference because their people, the people who love them, don't give a shit. They just keep taking what they're given. And it's ridiculous. Even this news, like I was on the phone, I know right before Paul Tassi, breaking news. Paul Tassi has a friend who says like, yo, it wasn't Sony, it was Bungie. Let's as much as that's cool of an idea,
It's a
right?
massive deflect.
Let's just stop for a second and realize that Bungie can't fire no one in such a massive way without letting Sony, who is the owner, know what the fuck they're doing. That's not a real thing. Yeah. You don't get to say, yo, we're going to fire mad people. We're just going to change everything you had when you bought us. And it's not on you. We're just deciding this out of nowhere. You have no part of this decision. That's a lie. Yeah. That's a lie. And all they're doing is doing what always happens. They try to find a way to soften the blow against Sony. This wasn't a Sony decision. This was a Bungie decision. The guys who been rocking with this same team for so long get bought, get a bag, and then they just decide on their own, you know what? Let's fire all these people who helped us get to where we are, right? Community managers, all these other people. Let's just fire them. Nah, man. Listen, if it talks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a mother effing duck. Okay.
Yeah,
As much as we want to sugarcoat shit with these reports that come out, the dollars don't make sense, my man. They own Bungie.
yeah,
The deal that they have in place with Bungie that they can do that and release their games anywhere. That does not mean that Bungie acts independently. It means that Sony is giving them their parameters, their limits of where they can go, so they can release all their games wherever they want. Great. But no company is going to be okay with finding out, just like everybody else just did, that hey, we let go massive amounts of people just for the heck of it. Like that's not a decision Bungie makes anymore.
yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
true.
and regardless, see money, even if it was Bungie's decision, the fact that they are now owned by Sony, anything that they do
Exactly.
is a reflection on Sony,
They
and
want to
this
create
is
a
this is
barrier.
not a good look.
They're trying to make it where that's not the case by putting out stories like this, that now every pony that's out there is going to be like, no, this wasn't on Sony, guys. This is not a PlayStation thing. This was Bungie. Oh yeah, bad Bungie. That this is what they do. They go ahead and they create this wall around their precious PlayStation and their precious Sony, and they try to save them because you know what? They need to be saved. And I get that. I could understand now when you see what's happening. If you have ponies turning around and also complaining, Sony has nothing left, bro. And PlayStation is the only thing keeping Sony afloat in any meaningful way. So if you start, that's why they won't confirm anything. Because if they don't confirm it, it's not official and it's just rumor and speculation, right?
Right.
So it doesn't affect anything nasty on their end because they don't confirm it. It's not real, right? And then you just have people like us who are shouting from the rooftops how stupid all this shit is and why are so many people just accepting this, right?
I'm
They're
going to
just
tell you this right
accepting this.
now.
It's
I
crazy.
I give and Daniel, I want to hear from you because I know that you get pointed when it comes to this kind of stuff because you don't like injustice either. I am going to give the press 24 hours and these mother, father, sister, brothers better get on their high horse and start pointing the finger at Pete Parsons and Bungie because again, Paul Tassi, I may not always agree with everything that he writes. I'll be straight up with you. But I like Paul as a journalist. I kind of keep him in the same way that I keep Jez Corden, where I respect the work that they do. Same thing with Tom Henderson. Same thing with Tom from The Verge. These are journalists, folks. They get out there and they walk the beat and they write the stuff that sometimes isn't as popular as some of the other places, but I like the work they do. And if Paul is out here making this confirmation, you got to understand he works for a big publication. He could hurt himself. He could hurt his image if this was falsities. I don't believe it is. But Daniel, I want to get your take on this because what we have learned with obviously what's happening with Bungie is gross. But what we have just what everyone has really put down, and again, shout out to Mav and Han Solo and C Money for dropping it like it was hot with what's going on at Sony. It is a barn fire at Sony Interactive Entertainment and PlayStation right now. And anyone, and I mean, I'm talking to you, PlayStation fans, anyone that defends the shit that's going on there right now, you should be ashamed of yourself, not a gamer, as a human being. Because
Facts.
right now, no one wants to talk about it. Everyone's walking on eggshells. The press, no one wants to say anything. But we'll let the 13K and change or the 2K and change or the 1K and change talk about it because we're going to be like white noise. No one's going to hear us. Well, I'm going to keep talking about this, and I hope everybody on this panel keeps talking about it. But Daniel, let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so specifically about like the media not covering it or just
Well, no, I mean,
still
go
about the-
take it any direction you want. First of all, the media not covering it is disgusting. But I'm talking about Sony is burning from within. All of us put a bunch of factoids. And again, if this was half happening at Xbox, everybody in their mother would be putting out article upon article. You would see GameSpot do 13 articles in a day. The same way
Maybe a
they
celebration.
tweeted 23 times that they gave Starfield a 7. Yes, we gave it a 7. Look at us.
Yeah, they really did just want to cash in on those clicks, huh?
Yeah,
Uh,
disgusting.
it's the same as the IGN just reposting the Elder Scrolls 6's exclusive thing like over and
Yes.
over again to be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, did you
Mhm.
know?" And everyone was like, "Yeah, like for over a year now, dude. Like we've been aware." Uh, it's wild. It it's one of those situations where because you're right, if this was an Xbox thing, people would have been talking about it a lot more. Like we would have been hearing about it from IGN and all the big names. Um, but you look at the things that have been happening over at PlayStation, even just the last week or two, and we're just not seeing that same level of coverage. Like I don't know if any of the big name sites covered the Connie Booth thing at all, right? The honestly, I think the biggest name that I saw talk about it was probably the Iron Lords. Like
Yeah,
I,
and they
I
had Jaffe on. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't see anybody else talk about it at all. They weren't talking about it on Podcast Beyond or on PS I Love You or anything like that. And it's weird. I do think they will talk about this one because this one has been, just from what I've seen, more widely reported on. Um, so I hopefully they'll talk about this one. I'm sure they'll find some way to be like, oh well, it is what it is, because they like to just kind of like brush these things under the rug a lot when it comes to PlayStation. But it's I don't even know how much I can blame the actual reporters or if it's the people at the top. That would be my assumption is the people at the top of these big like media companies are afraid to lose access to all the PlayStation stuff because right now they are number one. And so they don't want their reporters talking too negatively about certain brands, because if they do, then they lose access to those things, they lose clicks about those things. And so I think that they've sort of surrounded themselves with people who either won't or at least won't do it under their name. You know what I mean? Because we've seen people like Destin go off and start his own channel where he's a little bit more open about stuff. And even I am starting to see the cracks, though. You know what I mean? Like I am starting to see a lot of people starting to come out and be like, "Hey, there's a lot of weird things happening back to back," and they haven't been doing it on like the main sites, but I've been seeing them do it on Twitter a lot. Like even like Brian Altano, I've seen him being like, "Yeah, I don't know about this. Like, there's some weird stuff going on." Like he was tweeting about the Spider-Man bugs. He was tweeting about the Connie Booth situation. Like he's been talking about all of it, just not on Podcast Beyond. And I have to assume that that's because his boss's boss is like, "Don't do it. You're not allowed." Uh,
That makes sense.
so
They're one of their biggest investments. 60% of their revenue comes the way of PlayStation. So yeah,
yeah, so I don't want this to turn into a situation where people are like yelling at specific reporters because I don't even know necessarily where the fault lies for something like this. I do think that like I think if you're going into the comment section of something and you're yelling about it there, first of all, the people who are making these decisions are not reading those comments. Like they're just never doing that, right? They don't care. They look at the numbers of the ad rev and that's it. And also your negative comments are just boosting engagement, so it really doesn't matter at all. Like if you really want to hurt them, just don't watch it at all. Um, like that's the best thing you can do is just completely boycott whatever thing it is. But like I just don't want to see anybody like attacking specific journalists about this, because it's like some of them might be at fault, but we won't know that. We won't be able to find out like which ones are doing it because they have like a really heavy bias and which ones are doing it because they have like two kids and they can't lose this job. You know what I mean?
no, I mean, listen, you're making a great point, and I want this to be clear. No one should be attacking
People
anybody.
are really like, this is a serious problem where people need to talk about it more, but it's at the same time it's a situation where it's like I don't know, I just don't want to see it turn into personal attacks or anything.
Personal,
Well,
again,
that's
this
a
is
whole
not
different breed of
right.
people
Yeah,
Yeah,
anyway.
that
That do
I'm
that
just
shit.
yeah, I'm
I think
seeing
us
stuff
having a
on Twitter and stuff.
conversation is incredibly
Yeah.
different than someone attacking someone because they defend it. First of all, if you don't put your, I'll put it this way: any journalists listening, and it's highly unlikely they listen to this small show. Don't if you don't want the pushback, don't put yourself out defending these bad moves. Don't side with the conglomerate because they're buttering your bread. I mean, I understand ultimately IGN's bread is buttered, and they can't, they can't go against Sony. But I'm sorry to say, you owe it to your readers the same way that you would give it to Nintendo if they did this, or Xbox, or Valve, or any of the other studios. If Sony is doing this, they have to know that this is wrong. And I think that you owe it to your readership or your listenership, however you want to box it, that these kind of conversations need to be had. This is wrong what's happening. And Sony right now is floundering. The place is burning from within. They're probably leading the industry in layoffs, which is awful. And like I said, a shout out to many of the Xbox Nation community members like Clobriel, like Idle Sloth, that are out there. Say, hey, listen, if you were affected, check over here. They're hiring here. You don't see that ever happening at the Sony's part of the conversation. And shout out to many people that are a part of these big studios that are out there. Hey, listen, folks, this is awful. We're hiring here. We might be able to help. You saw that from you saw that from Bethesda. You saw that from a couple of the Xbox studios. That's what I like to see.
Yeah, I think
they're hiring, not laying off.
Teams are, if these other teams are laying off highly talented people, then why not have other people grab those people up? Like, if Connie Booth is really good at her job, then Microsoft or Nintendo or whoever should be like, hey, you want to do your job really good over here? Like, because we could use some help, maybe. I mean, we just bought like 15,000 people or whatever. Like, we might need some help managing all that. So I don't know. There's a lot of situations where, like, I do know that a lot of the higher ranked people probably won't have trouble finding new jobs because they're able to be like, yeah, I've worked on, these 15 games or whatever. But I think Alana Pierce tweeted this thing out, like yesterday or 2 days ago or something, where she was like, I just don't know why any new talent would want to get into the games industry right now. And that's heartbreaking to see from her, because when she was working at IGN, her whole goal, her whole dream was to write for video games. And now she's finally doing it.
And she's there
over at Sony Santa Monica.
And
she's like,
sure
I don't know why anybody else would want to do this. And it's like, what's going on over there that is specifically making her feel like, I assume it's just the layoffs, but like, I don't know. It's heartbreaking to see somebody's entire dream be like if she's saying that she doesn't think other people would want to do what she's doing, then there's a certain implication of like, are you no longer enjoying what you're doing? Like, is there something going on over there that
could
you're
certainly
not
assume
talking
that,
about? Because you're a very public face.
Yeah, I mean, there's the fact that maybe she's afraid. Maybe she's afraid that she could be, because remember, she's I don't know how long she's been working. I think it's a year and some change.
I think she came in at the end of Ragnarok. It was like the last. It was like the last year-ish. I think she was working on that because she is in the credits of that. So what was that? That was that last year?
That was last year. She would have
started probably 2021 at some point, I guess.
Yeah. So maybe a year or two. Maybe she's concerned that, obviously, if you're one of the last hired, you're usually the first one to go.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case. But for her to say that I didn't see that comment, that's telling. That's definitely telling, because you're onto something. She's very passionate at what she does. I know a lot of people don't like her. I like Alana. I think she's phenomenal. She's a phenomenal voice in the community for sure. And the fact that she, left IGN, she went on her own, big risk, right? People followed her. She's very, very talented in how she presents herself on camera, how she, gives opinions about the industry. That's why I follow her. That's why I'm subscribed, because I like what she has to say. And then somehow or another, her talent was observed by Santa Monica, and that's where she works now. But for her to say that, I did not see that comment. That is incredibly telling. I will say this, folks. I want to apologize if this was as pictured as or presented as a different episode, but I gotta say I'm so proud of the way we handled it, like absolute gentlemen. We handled it like paraprofessionals. We obviously, gave our full hour's worth of thoughts and theories into, what is happening in the industry. And then, of course, we got the breaking news regarding Bungie, and then we went into the Sony stuff. I am going to catch up on the super chats. I'm going to get everyone out of here because we're closing in on the 2-hour mark. Chris R drops a very generous $5 super chat and says Bungie is an example of why video game industry needs unions. And that is very, very strong of a point, Chris. Mr. Pink in the chat. Well, welcome to the program and thank you for the outstanding generosity. He drops a very generous £5 super chat and says, just wishing all of you a happy Halloween, happy gaming, peace. Brother, thank you so much for the kind words. And of course, thank you for the generosity. Highlander 001 drops. Wow. Hold on a sec here. Not only did he gift 5 additional Double Barrel Gaming memberships, which is just crazy generous of you, Highlander, he drops 3 $5 super chats in a row. And it starts with this. When Microsoft lays off people, they give them 6 months of severance and a year of health care. Bungie is wrong and can F all the way off. Strong points. And yeah, that's they're giving them a day of coverage. You get
One
rid
day.
of all the, what?
1 day, really?
That's it. Yeah, 1 day.
That's what it was.
It said it expired on the 30th.
Yes.
Yeah, well, because it expires at the end of the month, and they're being they were like what yesterday? Yeah.
I can't believe that. If you listen, folks, you're gonna see I changed the thumbnail. It's the Bungie logo, and you know where the little blue dot is? Well, it's a piece of shit. So that's the you'll see the new logo when I throw it up on the socials because that's what I think of Bungie right now. It's a smiling piece of shit because well that's what they are because that's what they've done to real life people, folks. So don't buy a helmet in Bungie. In Destiny 2. Stop playing that game immediately. His second super chat of $5 says, a union would have helped with the Bungie layoffs. I wonder if console maker allows unions, right? Microsoft does. Yeah, Microsoft is one of the driving forces for acquiring Activision because those folks needed a union back in the days. And that's why you saw all those smiles and hugs and handshakes and all those pictures when Phil and team went over and visited, Activision and Blizzard and King, because these folks are now going to be under the leadership of Microsoft. And guess what, folks? They're in the top 10 of the Glassdoor, and that's not a feat that's easy. Or they were nominated by Time Magazine just last month as the best place in the world to work. So there's something to there. Highlander's third super chat says, boom. I will have to wait to get Call of Duty. I took my daughter to lunch yesterday and saw a homeless vet. I got him lunch and got him a job. Be kind. Dude, that's beautiful. Mrs. Boom and I obviously we put it out there in the socials that we were moving not to a new home. That hopefully happens in the next 12 to 24 months. We're saving. We're saving for the home. We moved into a bigger storage. We donated, as we always do, and I don't need to say this because I don't want anyone to, I didn't pat me on the ass. We donate to our local Salvation Army, and we donated a ton of stuff. That's what I was doing all morning, was bringing the stuff over because, listen, you got to give back to this world, man. I mean, we're blessed beyond words, so we're always going to keep paying it forward. And that was beautiful, brother. That's very kind of you to do. And I'm a veteran. I'm retired. I was in the Navy during Desert Storm the first time. And a lot of people don't know that. I don't share that with a lot of people. But yes, I was in the United States Navy, as well as serving as a New York City police officer for 21 years. Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, see money. Xbox does pay enough bribes. I mean, advertising money, not to get the smoke like Sony. When Sony has issue, media closes their eyes and whistles.
Man doesn't. Xbox doesn't pay enough.
No, it
bribes.
doesn't. Okay, advertising that's what he meant to say. Yeah, doesn't pay. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, he left out the NT, but yeah, I got you, Gamer by Choice. Double X Wolverine Double X drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, pulled up my chair to watch it burn.
It's glorious.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Feel it.
Maxie Coleman drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, if you need a stand for your vertical and another one for your horizontal, maybe you designed the console wrong. I mean, you're not wrong for that because the paperclip is pretty ridiculous. And lastly, Gamer by Choice, who's been a channel member, folks, for nearly 50 months. I mean, I think that's as long as I've been doing YouTube, dude. That is just crazy. Thank you for the outstanding support. He says Phil talks to the press. We do not want PlayStation to go away. We need them in gaming. Turns to Sarah and Matt, finish them. I love it. Listen, let's get to the outros. Ham Solo, we'll start first with you, kind sir, because we want to help build your channel. You do a lot of outstanding work, not only on your own channel. Got a chance to kind of hang out with you and your co-host last night. Yeah, and obviously that was pretty cool because, like I said, I love chopping it up behind the scenes when we're not actually on camera. By all means, please, let's sell your brand to the masses. We still have nearly 700 people here. Maybe they didn't hear about WS, your incredible podcast, as well as who is Ham Solo. Sell it, man. Tell us all about you and where they can subscribe, and more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
So yeah, see money if you could copy and paste that, brother, again. I'd really appreciate it because he shared my channel just a little bit ago, which I really appreciated that. It's TSWS Gaming. That is the channel that I specifically have with my partner in crime, Loke7, which Mr. BoomStick was helping us set up our StreamYard yesterday because we are moving from OBS to StreamYard because I'm using the funds that people have been giving me to make my channel better, because that's what you're supposed to do with the funds. You're not supposed to just run around and go to Best Buy and buy all the games and stuff like that. So I want to make a better experience for everybody else as well. So I decided to do that. But yeah, I've had some freaking awesome shows. I do Behind Them Sticks every Thursday with various people within the community. I've had like Seamus Blackley on. I've had
Boom. Talk about
I've
that.
had you on, Mab. I actually just last week I had C Money on. I'd love to get Daniel on as well at some point down the line. Just this last week on Bullsitting, which is my Friday panel show. I know it's a goofy name, Bullsitting, because we're all bullshit. But we're having a good time talking about gaming. But this last week I had the biggest guest I ever had. I already said his name just a moment ago, but I had Seamus Blackley come on our panel and talk about Xbox, gaming, PlayStation, and how they're kind of moving and how he kind of sees the industry. He even talked a little bit about Sarah Bond and all of that good stuff. But I'm gonna be having Jez come on here soon. This Thursday's Dreadpool for Behind Them Sticks. We're moving really well, and I really appreciate you, Boom, for reaching out and having me on this show now multiple times, but also being available to help a brother out to get him where he needs to be. And I definitely use some of your suggestions because they were dynamite, and we're going to make sure to provide a fantastic show for those that decide to come watch us. So go on ahead and come subscribe to TSWS Gaming. It's free. We don't charge nothing, but we do have a membership if you decide that you want to do something like that just starts at $2.
Nice.
Thank
well, listen, brother, listen, I've always come to the realization, and I go all the way back to my days on Crossfire. I reached out to Mooch and I said, hey, I used to listen to the show. I didn't always agree with them, but I listened to the shows where I didn't even know YouTube existed. People say, go to YouTube. I'm like, what? That's for kids. And I found out that they had these amazing content creators like Dealer and Randall Thor and Colt Eastwood. And the list just goes on and on, right? So I started listening, started watching. I reached out to Mooch and I said, listen, you ever have any community members come on? He goes, yeah, you come on the show. And after 3 appearances, he asked me to be a panel member. And my bucket list was checked off, right? I always promised myself that if I ever launched my own channel, I would always pay it forward and help whoever needed it. And that's why Ham Solo, when you reached out yesterday, is my absolute pleasure to help you and your co-host, because obviously, and shout out to your co-host, man. I didn't even know I wasn't following that dude. And now I am. So
yeah, he really lives out in Africa. I always make fun of him. He lives
out in Africa, which is pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah. I hate to do this, Boom, but I got a jet set because we're going to be starting our show within the next
brother.
5-10
Thanks again
minutes.
for stopping by.
But
yes, go take care of business.
All right, brother.
We'll talk.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Peace out.
Mav, let's sell your brand, brother. You do like Ham Solo a lot of shows. One of my favorite is at PM in the PM. That's this Thursday with not only yourself but of course Pong. Talk about it, brother. Sell the brand. Tell people where they can check out your incredible content over at the Mav universe, and more importantly, where can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, thanks for letting me hop in, Boom. Great hanging out with all the rest of the panel here. If you want to check out what we got going, just search up Fun Speculation on YouTube, and we have 4 shows. Mondays and Tuesdays, we usually have a show, but due to Halloween and family stuff,
Yep.
not doing that tonight. But you're right. Thursday is PM in the PM with Pong Soul and I, and that's at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then we'll be back Friday for Xbox Ultimate Podcast at 10 p.m. Eastern time. But I am going to stream today during the day just because I have some time here, kind of chilling today, relaxing on Halloween. So probably
Nice.
in the next hour or so, I'm going to stream and have some fun and play some Forza or something. So come hang out
Yep,
if you want to
I'll be
watch
in there.
that. Yeah, appreciate it. But yeah, thanks again, everybody. The chat was amazing as well. Boom, congrats again on all your continued growth, and
Thank you,
shout
sir.
out to you for all your amazing support in the community and everything you do, bro.
Well, appreciate the kind words. And if you saw, folks, before we get to see money, if you saw my thing on Twitter, you obviously know there is a white controller in the form of Starfield, right? You know this one. Well, I bought an actual cover off of Amazon. I sent the link out there. It's $16. I changed it. They have it in black. So now I have ebony and ivory, and it looks dope. I'll go get it in a second. It's gotta be, I think it's right here. Yes, you know what? I'll get it while I see money. By all means, brother, sell your brand. Talk about your very unique, very incredible, very engaging podcast that you do, not only with yourself, but you do it with your with the missus is a part of the conversation. Your son is a part of the conversation. It's a very, very unique and fun podcast that you need to check out each and every week. Brother, sell the brand and tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, first of all, Boom, thanks again for having me. Mav, it's good chopping up with you again,
Too,
man.
bro.
Dan, same thing, bro. Good to rock with you guys. Um, right on the screen there, you see on Twitter, you can follow me at C Money Forever. It's right there beneath me, so you can do that. As far as our channel, yeah, we have a channel. It's called On Point for Gamers. We do 4 shows a week. Oh, wait, that is dope. The Starfield in black, that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
I like
16
that.
bucks, dude. And you know what? This I never took a part of a controller before. They give you all the tools. 16 bucks, you get the screwdriver, you get the little thing to pry it off, and I changed it in 5 minutes.
That's
I
awesome.
bought I bought I
That's
bought
awesome.
a carbon black, you know, to keep everything the same unison, and I changed the cover, so now I have 2 Starfield controllers, which is dope.
That's sick. That's sick. That's super dope. That's super dope. Um, but yeah, so on Point for Gamers, we have 4 shows a week that we do. We start the week off on Mondays with Morning Quest with Doodle and See Money. That's a show that I do with my wife. And you know, we just start the week off right. It's at 9 a.m. Eastern time. You know, talk gaming, have a good time. Tuesdays is typically our her, him, and a guest show night. But because of Halloween, we did not do
Yeah.
it today. We actually did it yesterday. And we had Doom Cutie on,
Oh, that's
and
not,
that
yeah,
was a
that's
great
right.
episode. Yeah, got really deep, really like emotional at times. Like it was pretty dope. It definitely worth checking out if you haven't. But normally it's on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Then we have our gaming podcast, On Point, the gaming podcast, nice and simple. That's on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern time. That's the show that we do with myself, Doodle, with my wife, and my son, Man. My eldest son, Man. He comes out and we have a good time. So we're gonna have a lot to talk about this week. So
Indeed.
definitely stop in. It's gonna be a fun time. It's gonna get spicy. We do tend to get spicy. So definitely come. That's gonna be fun. And then we end the week on Fridays with On Point Anime and Beyond, where we talk anime, TV, movies, you know, really anything pop culture that we want to. And that's at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Fridays. And that's it,
Nice.
guys. We would love for you to come stop by and check us out. You know, we're almost at 11,100. We're getting to that dot
Love
one.
it.
So Definitely would love for you guys to come check us out. I did just drop the link into the chat. We definitely appreciate the subs, man. We will love it. Come hang with
Well,
the chat with
appreciate you
us.
being a part of this show, brother, and of course, love what you
Absolutely,
guys
bro.
and I love you and the missus are doing on your own on your own shows with the content. The block party thing was dope. That's something you guys got to
No.
keep doing. I
Oh,
love that.
wait, let me say this. I completely forgot. Thank you for saying that because that's the thing we're doing at the end of every month. So the end
Yeah, talk
of the
about it.
month
Talk
is the
about it.
block party. You guys, if you didn't, that was our last show we did. It was phenomenal. We had King David, we had our boy right above us, Mav, we had Retri, we had Gaming Forte, and we had Crazy Louie Gaming. It was a fun night. Mav did not win the game show that we
Thanks
had.
for reminding me, bro.
Just
Appreciate it.
gotta make sure. So I feel like you gotta prepare better for these games.
And
when we
not
do
only
them,
did I
okay?
not win, I came in last. I actually ended up with negative points, and I was the only
Yeah, there
one
was like
to.
negative
Yeah.
score. So like you were, yeah. So that was it's really fun. It was a great episode. Definitely, if you haven't done it, check it out. But if you didn't hear yesterday, we also announced we're doing another new show kind of variant. Um, we have a lot of people who are in our chat and we hang out with them. We love the community we're kind of building. And you know, we wanted to make it where once a month we're gonna do basically a community episode of our gaming podcast.
Nice.
So on the second uh Thursday of the month, we'll have some community members who normally are in the chat come on in and just talk gaming with us, have a great time. Some of them have channels that we want to
Promote,
help,
of course.
just like
Yeah.
Boom helped us. We definitely want to be able to pay it forward. And yeah, just have a
Awesome.
good time, man. So that's actually going to be not this Thursday, but
Next
the
Thursday.
following Thursday will be our first episode of our community blowout gaming podcast. So
Awesome, brother.
definitely
Well,
come
look,
check
we
us
look
out for
forward
that as
to it.
well.
Again, the work you guys are doing is fantastic. Shout out
Thanks,
to
brother.
Jaral TV says Deshaun is out on Game Pass. I want to play that. That looks really good. That's the rock
That looked
climbing
really
game.
good from the
That looks
show.
phenomenal. Shout out again to Boss Mod Lethal Papa, who does the work of the gaming gods, walking silently and carrying a very big band stick, as you know. And that's why this chat is so good, because he keeps all the a-holes away. But listen, Daniel, let's get you on out of here, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. We missed you last week. Glad to have you back with your insight, as we always do. By all means, sell your brand. Tell everyone where they can find some of the best, both live. I mean, you do live content, obviously, on Thursdays. I want you to talk about the fix, but I also want to talk about your channel and how people can go and check out some of the best long and short content when it comes to the DCEU. Talk about it.
Yeah, thank you very much. So you can find me on Twitter, of course, at Daniel J. McG, or at my personal YouTube channel of Daniel McG, or on The Fix every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, the best show on Thursday nights. Fight me. See, Money's going to have to come and take the title from us.
I love it.
What happened? Say it again. I didn't hear it. Say it one more time.
I'm starting a feud with you.
No, he said that
the
Fix is the best place for anything and everything gaming on Thursday evenings, and he said that you're gonna have to come take the title from.
You're gonna have to go fight us for
it. It's just what people need to realize is just one long podcast. All right, starts at 5, ends at 11. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
That's it. You're good.
No, we're fighting.
I love it.
But no, yeah, over on my YouTube channel, we're talking about everything video games and pop culture, provided that I find the time and the energy to do it, which unfortunately has been at an all-time low lately. So I don't know. I've got a bunch of things in the works that should be going up soon. Starfield review, reached out to a friend of mine to see if he wanted to do a spoiler cast for Spider-Man. So we got a lot of spinning plates. Let's see which ones fall and which ones come out.
Well, listen, brother, it's great to have you back, and a big shout out to everyone that jumped on. Obviously, Mav, big shout out to you for jumping, one of the first ones to jump on. Shout out to Kaosante, shout out to Ham Solo for seeing that I was sinking rather than swimming. And folks, a big thank you to all of the outstanding super chats. Obviously, you're gonna see it, how we reinvest into the community. This Friday on the new episode of Breakfast of Boom, we're giving away $500, which is equivalent to 10 $50 gift cards, and we use a picker courtesy of StreamYards. So we're going to do there's going to be a special hashtag you're going to put in the chat. And if you're picked, regardless of where you are in the world, you will win that prize. And of course, we can't do that without the channel memberships, without the super chats, because what we do is we do reinvest into the channel with programs, with better lighting, with better mics, with better cameras, and more so, giving back to the community, as we've done with Boom's Birthday Bash, and now we're going to do it again with Mrs. Boom's Birthday Bash this Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, hopefully one day be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids, and he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig, I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.